between Michigan and Montana.
Montana, is that in the Middle East?
Montana. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we're 10 degrees here tonight, and this is our last weekend of hopefully both temperatures, and we're going to get warm as we get into the season that's North America around. So I'm very happy to be with you tonight. Dennis, thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. We're pleased to have you.
Thank you.
Well, it's been an interesting year so far. I kicked off the South Carolina Tea Party Convention about a month and a half ago. We had just a terrific turnout in Myrtle Beach, and at that time it generated into almost 6 different tea parties around the states that invited me to speak over the next 2 to 3 months. The thing that Stand Up America, which is my organization, that was formed in 2006 with Jerry Boland. Jerry, you may remember, was the Oscar winner for Schindler's List, Jurassic Park, a number of other movies, and he did the Dinesh D'Souza documentary, which was the most successful documentary ever made, called Obama 2016. And Jerry is a very good friend of mine, but as we worked together over the years, we've come up with certain themes. And the theme that we want to register tonight with all of you, that America is at a crossroads. And due to that fact and situation we see in America today, we really want to have a national call to action of all Americans to stand up and to take this country back. And so as we go around, as things seem to get worse every day, as we look at the current situation in the Middle East, in Russia today, in Ukraine, and the feeble response that our president gave today, if you heard him on the news, that we are in serious trouble, not only externally from the threats from abroad, but also internally. So the question is, how do we turn it around? And I've come to the conclusion the only way we can turn it around is through the people. Because certainly our Congress, our legislative branch, the executive branch, the court system, they all seem to be broken today to some degree. They can't seem to accomplish anything positive for America anymore. So the alternatives that we have all come back, if we look at the Constitution and the rights of the people and our ability that America is for the people and by the people. And if we look at the situation today, it's up to us to change things. We can't sit back any longer and just accept the fact that local politics is going to change things. Because we find the Republican establishment is in some ways right in bed with the progressive Democrats. And the only salvation I see is the people and the Tea Party movement, which is going to accelerate this year to a degree that was not even known in the past election. So I want everybody to be encouraged. We do have an opportunity to change America and bring it back. Much damage has been done to our country. It's going to be painful for us to do this, but we have to do it for our young people and for our children and grandchildren. So those are the overarching things, and as I told Dennis, I will be happy to come back to Michigan, I guess in May at some point in time, and date will be set, and that we get enough people to rally, because my roots go back to Michigan. My uncle used to own the mystery spot up in northern Michigan. My dad and his brothers owned the Star Granite Works in downtown Detroit back in the 40s and 50s. And so where I grew up in northern Pennsylvania, it was always great to get up to Michigan, go in the summer and enjoy the lake and everything. So my roots go back there. I was also accepted at the University of Michigan and aeronautical engineering in 1957. But then also got an appointment to West Point, which I took in 1957. So the overarching theme here, I guess, is to pull us all together across the nation and to ensure that America will be strong again, and that just we're not going to take it anymore. Enough is enough, and with each day passing, we find that that is true. So with that, what I would like to do, Dennis, is really open it up to questions that I may address for the concerns for the people there in Michigan.
Okay, we will do that. And are you hearing me okay? I've got the mic sharing the telephone here, and I think it's doing well. If you will speak again, I will ask people, if you have a question, please come up here, and let's give the general about maybe 10 good questions, because we are blessed to have him and we want to get some answers. Tell us who you are, and then your question. Sir.
Bill Bigler, General, thank you for your service and thank you for your courage in leading us today. General, what exactly are you asking of us?
Thank you, Bill. I'm asking all of us, I'm asking particularly the young people today, what I call the 30-year-olds, Bill, the 25 to 40, start taking charge, taking responsibility, getting our people involved in those age groups that can very much influence teenagers and people in their 20s. So I'm asking all of us to get engaged around the country, get involved, stand up when you encounter people that what we may call the progressives, the socialists in this country, that see America not as it should be, but as it was under our founding fathers of the Constitution and Bill of Rights. And get the church leaders to stand up for it. We find it too often that leaders in our churches aren't standing up enough. They're too jeopardized by the tax ruling, protecting them as a non-profit 501c. We find that just reluctance to challenge radical Islam for what it is. So these are things we can do in each of our communities and our churches to stand up and say, again, we're not going to take it anymore, we're going to take America back. And really understand what the enemy is out there today, the external threats that we see from Iran and other nations and other countries that want to really see us become less of a power in the world. And of course, having been over the Middle East over the last 18 months, I've been over there 4 times. I'm the only senior American that's been inside Syria, being with the Free Syrian Army. I'm the only senior gentleman that's gone over to Egypt in the last 3 months to meet General Sisi and the new leadership in Egypt, and to understand and look through the air eyes over there that we have no allies, we have no friends anymore. And so that's the pain that we're suffering right now. That's why it's important for all of us to spread that message, to stand up and take America back.
Okay, another question. Tell us who you are, sir.
Bill Easton, I'd like to know how many and what percentage would you say that our American troops would come over to the citizen side and not try to take our guns away or put us in camps?
Go ahead.
That's a great question. We've looked at that pretty much in depth as much as we could now. There are several factors affecting our military now, and as you well can appreciate, I'm very dismayed with the lack of our generals and admirals today standing up against the ideology and being purged by the Obama administration. Our military is being purged not only with the officers and enlisted people, but they're purging what they can say, what they can teach. They can't even use radical Islam or the global caliphate in any of their training manuals. I met with one young sailor on a fleet, and he said, we can't even go to the galley and talk politics or talk about anything. It's like we have political commissars in the higher ranks. I talked to a colonel that just came out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and he said they were now starting to try to get in a survey individuals assigned a form as to whether they would turn on the American people. My feeling is right now that the ranks of tremendous, I would say, we look at all the resources we put into Iraq, human, as well as financial resources, with a very zero return for the American people. The same thing you're going to see in Afghanistan. And so that is proliferated now, I think, through the ranks. I think for the most part, the military, enlisted and lower ranks will stand by the American people and the Constitution. I'm not sure of the upper ranks right now of their confidence to stand by our Constitution, because they don't seem to be now. Give you a situation where we had Joel Dempsey, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, actually lied about Benghazi, saying we didn't have any assets in the area, when in fact we did. So this is very disturbing to me as a retired military career officer.
Okay, we have another question. General, one thing that I promised this caucus is that as I bring my opening remarks every Friday, that I will not forget Benghazi, nor the American heroes who gave their lives for others there. So we mention that often. Here's another question from Bill Bigler.
General, the American Spring is supposed to occur May 16th, and General Riley has said there's likely to be arrest, bloodshed, and if you come, be prepared to don't look back. Are you supporting the American Spring? And if so, again, what should we be expecting to be asked to do at the American Spring? Thank you.
The American Spring is an initiative, of course, by Colonel Harry Riley. I've never met Colonel Riley, but I've been in touch with him quite frequently, and I wish him well. I know it's not around the country that I was the one initiating the American Spring, and I thought that is not an initiative of mine, but I certainly have said if America's got to stand up, they've got to do it in Washington and the state capitals. And so I know there's been a drown out of what Harry Riley is trying to do. I got an email from him earlier this morning. But May 16th is the date. They're hoping to get hundreds of thousands of people there to stand up and demand the resignation of Obama, Biden, Pelosi, Reid, John Boehner, and Mitch McConnell, the senior leadership there, and to be replaced by a younger generation of dedicated Tea Party patriot candidates. And so I don't know what's going to happen. If you have hundreds of thousands of people perhaps gathering in Washington, D.C. and the state capitals, the police will be out. Certainly Colonel Harry Riley does not endorse or support any kind of armed individuals there, but he knows the police will be there, just like we had the last time when they tried to close down the World War II memorial. People stood up and they removed the barriers. So with that, we'll see what happens. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was just wanting to fill in some of the folks that American Spring is supposed to happen as a public redress for grievances against our government, and it's supposed to be peaceful. But one of the things that we have discussed is that, and I discussed this with Jim Garrow. He called today. Dr. Janda gave Jim Garrow my phone number, and I called and talked with him today. And I asked him if this could be a false, used as, not designed as, but used as a false flag event for the president to declare martial law, and therefore override the fact that he loses the Senate and becomes a lame duck president. What do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I see that out there as a possible scenario. I don't think that will happen. I don't think that Obama now sees his strength as strengthening with any of the elements, even within the government parts that don't support him. So I don't see him taking that action because I think if he would make that misstep, then it would be the downfall of him. And it would create such a situation within the country that there would be civil unrest. So I don't see that scenario working out. At least I pray that it doesn't, from the standpoint that we just need what we need to move on is a no confidence vote in Obama and the administration and demand resignations of them this summer. We can't let them continue to be in charge of this government because I'm not that confident just the politics of the elections in 2014 or 2016 are going to solve our problems.
I agree. And one thing that I want, folks, we got some folks coming to ask a question. Obama knows that this Obamacare is causing him real trouble in the Senate. And if the Republicans get 51% of the Senate, that doesn't mean they have enough percentage. You have to have 2/3 in the Senate to remove once that the House has impeached. We learned that with Bill Clinton. But if we get enough people in this peaceable redress for grievances, we could steal a couple of Democrats in order to do a removal if the House could do an impeachment. Okay, sir, tell us who you are and then ask your question.
My name is Tom Miller. I'm from Iowa, Michigan. I'd like to ask the General, what makes you think that that fool was going to step down?
He just called our president.
Well, that's a good question, Bob. I don't think the full will step down. But, however, just like we've seen in other civil unrest around the world and just recently in Ukraine, if enough pressure is put on, then the people that have been supporting them will understand that it will be a travesty to continue to support the gentleman. They'll feel alone in a closet and they'll have to step down. We know that the impeachment probably won't work because of partisan politics, just like we saw with Clinton. But we can, just like they did with Nixon, is to form a no confidence vote if we'll get the Congress to move on that, and to try to do this peacefully and have a demand resignation. And that's what Colonel Harry Riley's situation and scenario is all about. And we've talked also about citizens' arrest, and the fact of it is this is our government, people. This is not Obama. This is not the progressive. This is not political parties. That's why I think that the Tea Parties this year are going to rise above partisan politics, and we're going to be Americans first before we're Republican and Democrat.
That's right. Amen to that. Tell us who you are, Joe.
Hey, General. Joe Mariani from Ann Arbor. Glenn Beck recently aired a speech by a Democrat. I don't recall his name, and I don't know whether he was from the House or the Senate. And he described himself as a liberal and agrees with Obama on a whole host of issues. But what he doesn't agree with was the means that he went through to achieve those ends. And with Democrats and Republicans becoming so disenfranchised with what's happening with our country, do you feel that that is going to be a catalyst and is American Spring as a springboard to start a third party?
That was Jonathan Turley, I think, Columbia constitutional law professor. Go ahead, General.
Yeah, Jonathan Turley. I know I did some shows with him on Fox at Georgetown. Well, Jonathan, who is a liberal, he basically has said that Obama has gone to the farther extremes of trying to set up almost a tyrannical government with the use of the executive powers. And he certainly is going on that route. He'll continue on that route until he's put down. So I think, again, if you look at the American Spring, you look at what's happened in Egypt, you look what's happening around the world, you look at the Roman Empire, the fact is that many people in this country don't think we can have this type of situation of civil unrest or revolution again. But certainly each day pretends to show that we're heading this way. I just talked to an individual when we talked about the planned attacks of Iran to take down our grid system through an electronic pulse, what they call an EMP attack, with a low nuclear attack over New York, Miami, Washington, and Los Angeles and Seattle. And that's the way they can bring us down is through our grid system. They know that's the weakest part where we're most vulnerable because it shuts down very completely, and they have plans to do that. So when you look at the situation with our borders, with the fact that Congress just can't get anything done positively, that we are probably in as bad a situation as a declining Rome right now. And I've written so many articles on this when Rome burns, and likening to what's happening in America now. I try to be positive each day, but each day I have to turn on the news like you do, and nothing gets better. And we look at the stock market, we look at even the economy. The only reason the economy is staying alive today is because of the private sector, because of businesses, small businesses trying to do their work every day. It's not because of the government who continues to stifle growth and a turnaround in America. But how long is that going to last? Especially if you look at our currency and our financial markets go down. The estimate has been that within 72 hours, just like we saw at 9/11, our government can completely go into chaos. And we don't have a government that's competent enough to change things right now other than the weakness. So it's a sad portfolio. I'm sad. I hate to report, but I don't know how to look at it as what's going on today and look at it realistically.
General, we have another question. I want to take a few more. Before we have this next question, I want to give our people a chance to show their appreciation. The way we're going to do that is in applause. But when I tell them what I'm getting ready to tell them, they will want to give you a big round of applause. I don't ask them to stand. We are really jammed in this restaurant. We do not have an open seat.
Well, I wish I could be there.
I wish you were, but you are here in spirit too, and I appreciate so much. And what I'm about to tell these folks, you told me on the first phone call that you have to have, when we arrange your travel arrangements, we have to have an extra ticket, simply because Al-Qaeda has put a price on your head because of the patriot work you have done with the Syrians and in the name of our country. And so I want our people, once having learned that Al-Qaeda has determined that you are worthy of a fatwa to have your head removed, I want these people to give you a special round of applause for that reason only. Folks,
in Syria, put out the hit on me about 4 weeks ago. Spent all throughout Syria and the Middle East, that I was the main target. And I was the only one in America, since I'm the only one that's been inside Syria in the last year. But then the FBI called me and told me my life was threatened. And then the State Department called me yesterday and said, "Sir, do you know your life's been threatened?" I said, "Yeah, I knew it about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Thanks for calling and telling me." Anyhow, I'm not afraid of them. I've been over there. I've met with the Muslim Brotherhood. And, I've been inside Egypt. I've been over in the Turkish, the Syrian area 3 times in the last 18 months. So they know I'm not afraid of them, and I'm not, because I'm destined along with all of us. We're going to change things. We're going to make things happen, and we're going to protect the American people.
and it's incumbent on America, who has been silent mostly, to let them know that it is not you only, but they will have to deal with an awakened America, should they happen to get to you. Here's our next question.
General, Mark Sosnowski, Constitution Party. The question is, what is the role of the Oath Keepers in your efforts?
Well, I don't know. I've become very discouraged with them. I was invited in Idaho last summer to talk to them at a very big event over there. And the guy called me the day before and he says, "I am just so distraught, Joe Vallely, because the head of the Oath Keepers decided that it was too controversial to come and talk to them, and they would like for you not to come." And so I thought to myself, Oath Keepers that I had joined, why would they think that I would be so controversial? And so anyhow, from that point, they never apologized. And so I've lost all faith in that organization. organization for some reason, and they've never given me a good reason why they would disinvite me from an event.
Okay, General, this next fellow I've known probably 40 years or longer. Good friend of mine, go to church with him. And he's got a question to ask you, but before you ask, I want to let you know that he, I think, 2 terms, didn't he? One. Oh, he was in Korea. He was a marksman shooter. So he served under fire for this country. And Guy Collins has a question to ask you.
You're hearing an awful lot about the American Spring, and I'm just wondering, what's the percentage of this thing coming off or happening?
Great question. As I said earlier, Colonel Harry Riley emailed me today. He's very frustrated, as a lot of the media and some organizations around the country all of a sudden have gone silent on him and are not supporting him. And so I referred to a gentleman by the name of Larry Clayman, who's head of Judicial Watch, who wants to help Harry. I think at this point in time on this day, Harry's very frustrated for the lack of enthusiasm around the country for what he's trying to do. And again, what he's trying to do is a peaceful type of situation, but yet have enough show of force back there to indicate that America is demanding the step down of the current government we have to be replaced by some kind of a government, and new leaders can take this country forward. It's not a military coup. It's just a matter of trying to get these individuals to step down from their positions and be replaced by more competent people. We've never gone through this in America, so this is a whole new situation. So I think as of today, I can only say Harry's very frustrated with his lack of support around the country.
Well, General, I have a question. If nobody else is going to come forward, folks, if you have one, come. We're going to let the General go in just a minute. Would you please elaborate a little bit on these stories that we all hear, and we get anecdotal evidence from all parts of our experience, where Pentagon through the Obama administration is putting a litmus test on our commanding personnel, that if they would not move on American citizenry in the removal of their guns by force, if the answer is no, that they are either demoted or fired, or they choose to resign because they know their careers don't go anywhere. Could you speak about that just a little bit?
Well, I think that's part of the purge to set out where the senior enlisted officers will stand if it comes to civil unrest. Will they stand with Obama and the White House, the executive branch, or will they stand with the American people? And of course, when you get to that situation, each individual's got to decide who they side with. We firmly believe the Marines, the Special Operations Forces, the infantry, many of the individuals within our military will side with the American people. We're not sure of whether the senior officers will do that because they'll be jeopardized of their position, or if they indicate that they won't stand by the government, they'll be removed. So you have to understand our military is going through a hell of a transition right now. And with the gutting of the military that Obama's doing, the morale, we had 347 suicides last year within the military. And we've had more of the Gold Star families committing suicide. So it's not a good situation with our military, but I'm not sure where the minorities are going to fall down. If you look at the Hispanics in the military, the number of blacks in the military, they're going to have to make their own decision. They're going to stand by this false president who is taking us down the road of destruction, or are they going to stand by the American people and the Constitution? But that's a big question. We just don't know at this point in time. I have faith, just like the gun owners and the involved in the military will stand by the Constitution of the American people.
We do have faith. Right now what we have is one of those rare things in our caucus that we're seeking after so much. It's a young person, and he's going to ask you a question, General.
Great.
Jim Hamilton. Based off of all the stuff that doesn't add up, how do you feel about the Benghazi thing, and how do you think America should have handled it, or should be informed of what actually happened?
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite understand the question.
I'll have him repeat it.
Well, how do you think America should be informed, or should have been informed about what actually happened to Benghazi?
The Benghazi incident, did the president, give us a little bit of, I know I've heard you before, about what you think motivated the president and Hillary Clinton in what they did. He's asking for some elaboration on it.
Okay. Well, there's three parts to the Benghazi story, and you can Google all this if you Google the Citizens Commission on Benghazi and what we're trying to do to get the final truth out. The first part is that they were not prepared to support any kind of a attack on that consulate in Benghazi at that time. The Special Forces Colonel over there had basically gone back to the State Department and say, we're in a high threat area. We don't have the assets to protect and secure our compounds there, whether it be the consulate and even the embassy, but also the annex. So they weren't prepared to deal with a high threat area. Now, we have found out that the attack there, we had known about the two leaders who are Al-Qaeda leaders who actually put together the attack on the consulate there. We then found out that the reinforcements, we did have assets in the area, and General Betsy, Panetta, and Hillary Clinton all lied. The fact that there was nothing we could do, that's not true. We had assets in Italy, we had some fleet assets, we had some special forces assets in Benghazi, and as time was, it was 8 hours, I think, if you look at the time frame before they were finally taken down at the annex. So the fact is that there was no attempt at a rescue. And in the military, we've always had the code that if Americans are in danger or forces are in danger, we will go in, we will rescue them, we will do everything we can to get them out alive. That was not done. And that was a decision that we fully believe right now that was made at the White House to stand down and not to initiate any kind of a rescue operation. The third is there wasn't a...
Go ahead. Do your third. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, the other thing, we do know there was an arms deal over there gone bad with Al-Qaeda. We have interviewed the two people involved in the arms transfers over there that were supposed to go up to Syria. The fourth element is that we're finding out that Morsi, the elected president of Egypt, perhaps had created two initiatives. One, to kidnap the ambassador and then trade him for the blind sheikh who's being held in our prisons. And the second part of that, that Morsi, the Muslim Brotherhood, took over Egypt, also directed the attack on Benghazi. So we're finding out more and more of that as we go along. So this whole thing is going to be brought to closure, and that's why our Citizens Commission, we're pressing forward now to form a select committee so that we can subpoena everybody.
Yeah, when I interrupted you there, that Benghazi weapons transfer was a question I was going to ask you about. The confiscation by Al-Qaeda and the outright almost permission of our president to put those weapons in the Muslim Brotherhood hands. But you answered it fine. And you just agreed, so our folks heard that. Okay, we have a fellow here who's going to tell us who he is and ask you a question.
Rob Boyd from Rockwood, Michigan. Connecticut passed some very unconstitutional laws concerning registration of AR-15s, and they had a time limit on that. The time limit is running out, and the Connecticut government started handing out letters that they were going to come house to house to confiscate these arms. Do you think that this will be the shot heard around the world, and do you think that the armed services will break posse comitatus to go in and try to take over the situation.
I don't think much common would probably happen in this degree. I would think more you'll find your local policemen and sheriffs who will either stand by the Constitution and the Second Amendment, uphold the right to bear arms, and the people bearing arms in Connecticut will stand up as well. It all falls down really in local jurisdiction, police and the sheriffs who are going to stand by the Second Amendment rights, or are going to fall in line with the anti-gun people. This could be a real test. I would think the gun owners are going to stand up on this, so this could get quite bad.
Okay, we have another fellow here that's asking another question.
Bill Easton, I'd like to know if you think that if our troops stand with us, will the horrible UN use their troops with the blue helmets to come and take it away?
United Nations, good question. The United Nations doesn't have any troops. For any of the United Nations initiated military action, whether it be peacekeeping, they have to go out to the representative members of the United Nations, and they have to put up the troops, just like we have to do and we have done other countries. But the United Nations has no forces. They have no armed forces. They have to go to countries that are members of the United Nations. And I doubt very seriously if they ever try to put on blue helmets to come to America, because they all know the largest army in the world is the American gun owners, and they're not going to take them on.
Yamamoto said that the reason no one should attack America on American soil is because there's a gun behind every grass blade. What a wise man.
You got it. He's a very wise man. So some of the dummies of the United Nations, even as dumb as they are, I think will try to take them on.
Okay, we have one last question.
I wish somebody would ask me a question on the United Nations.
Okay, we have contacted our Congressman Tim Walberg on a question that I want you to give a response to. And he confirmed that these 15,000 Russian soldiers are training in America. We have some in Grayling, and there's some out in Idaho, and I think there's some in the Midlands, Mid-States area. Are you aware of an exchange program, so-called exchange program, that allows 15,000 Russian troops to be training on American soil? And for what reason could they be training?
No, I have no knowledge of that. We have cross-training programs with almost 120 different countries around the world that come here for our schools. Israeli pilots, for example, train at our Air Force bases. We have the National War College, where we have almost 62 countries represented, and come here for a year. So those exchange programs are going on all the time. We even have the Afghan Air Force that we're trying to train, as you may remember, down in Texas, and 20 of them disappeared into our population about 2 years ago. The Russians have their hands full, believe me. So 15,000 Russian troops here, they would probably rather stay in America than try to do anything else.
Yeah, they're probably back.
So I think you gotta watch all these conspiracy type things that are going on.
I hate it when you kill a good conspiracy. General, this next question is going to be asked by a very special person in my life. It's my older brother, and he has a heart of gold. He served this country in Germany, and he has a question for you. Tell us your name.
Sure.
My name is Ed Moore. General, you mentioned earlier something about the Ukraine and the unrest over there. I just would like you to comment on how you feel that's going to impact our current diplomatic relationships. And I understand we've guaranteed billions of dollars in loan money to the Ukrainians. And having said that, there's a lot of saber rattling, it seems, going on. Where do you think this is going to go? And how is it going to impact our current focus on the other issues?
Well, it's a great point. Matter of fact, I was talking earlier to my wife about Ukraine. And when I was in Egypt in November, and met with General Sisi, and out in Ukraine, you have to look through Putin's eyes and what Putin will accomplish or attempt to accomplish. And he does not care what we think. He only cares what his motivations are. He knows we have a weak president, we have a weak government. He knows, just like the Iranians, they can roll right over us, just like Assad in Syria. They know we're our weakest point. So Putin will do what he has to do. He will control Crimea. He will control the Sevastopol, where the fleet is. He knows that Crimea, the majority there are supporters of Russia, and they speak Russian. He knows that the other part of Ukraine is leaning towards the west. He has sent in a number of troops within the last 24 hours to secure the airports, to secure the ports. So he will attempt to do everything to bring Ukraine back under Russian control, just like he attempts to do in Georgia. And so he knows we will do nothing. He knows the Western powers will do nothing. So in the end, Putin will get his way.
But didn't our president draw another line?